Q&A. So we'll ask folks to put questions in the Q&A. I'll manage those so you guys don't have to worry about it. So if you see something pop up every now and then, folks will put questions in the chat. So I'll try and manage both of those and again answer those as we kind of go through the discussion. And like I think I mentioned in the prep call that we'll make sure we manage out anything that that isn't related to the conversation from that overall standpoint. So then it should be pretty easy flow talking about the organization and what you guys are doing.
Awesome. Well, I got a St. Patrick's Day fun fact to start off with.
Oh, there we go. I like fun facts. It's we stopped asking what people drink in their coffee because it
became dangerous.
Some people, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day.
Like today?
Yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I'm just so all about work that I don't.
Right.
Those holidays.
You didn't even know.
I hope you had some Baileys in that coffee.
Right, exactly. You didn't know it. You won't know until this evening. All right, everybody. We're yeah, there we go. Somebody criticizing our attire. Everybody that's joining, we will get started here shortly. If you can just hang out for a little bit. Yeah, it was funny. Last night we were talking about it, and then I woke up this morning and completely forgot. And dropping my sons off at school, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day." Morning, everybody that's joining. We'll be starting here in about a minute. All right, here we go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to HR Cloud and Coffee, the place for discussions on all things modernization and transformation. My name is Chris Oglesby with Morphworks. And before the introductions, this platform is hosted under the ATARC Cloud and Infrastructure Mission Group with a goal of bringing lessons learned and ideas to the ATARC community. Our focus will be a conversation about our guests' experiences, past and present, executing on modernization and transformation efforts. Just a little housekeeping, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom, so feel free to enter questions in the chat and we will work those questions into our discussion. Now let's move into introductions. Today our guests are Ansley Anderson and Clint Clubb with the Cloud Service Management Organization out of PEO Digital. Ansley and Clint, would you mind sharing with the audience a little bit about your backgrounds? Maybe Ansley, if you wouldn't mind going first.
Of course, thank you. Good morning. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here with my coffee. I have a great little coffee shop around the corner called 2530 Espresso, and they have beans that they get from women-owned farms all over the world.
Cool.
So yeah, it's really good. And then our neighbor, who's a graphic artist, does their mugs for them. So it's a cute little neighborhood.
Awesome little cute community there, huh?
Yeah, I know. So my name is Ansley Anderson. Thanks for having me. Clint and I work together in PEO Digital for the Cloud Service Management Organization. We're an integrated office, so we have Marine Corps and Navy personnel. I'm Marine Corps, Clint is Navy. And we are here to bring cloud services to the Department of the Navy. So we're a new organization. We've been in place since, I guess, officially we were created in December of 2020, but the PEO had to reorganize itself to meet the mission of its new scope as a new PEO, and then the Cloud SMO as a new organization. So we have been working hard, working diligently, and doing the best we can to bring cloud services. Clint's been doing it for a long time, though, with working with Terry Lee. I know she's not here today to banter with us, but I'll turn it over to Clint.
All right. Clint,
Oh, it's my
it
turn
sound
already?
like you got thrown under the bus a little bit on age because you got the long time.
Yeah, just a little bit. So, hi, my name's Clint Clubb. I'm the technical lead for the Cloud Service Management Organization. I've been supporting the Navy and NIWC LANT since 2014, 2015, something like that. And I've only been on the Cloud Service Management Organization team since January 14th of this year. I think it was 14th, somewhere around there. Not to be too specific, I guess. I'm trying to bring my experience from the cloud team at LANT and DC2HS to the Cloud SMO and the rest of the Navy and Marine Corps, of course, to kind of progress some things and move some things along and, just help out wherever I can. Before I was a fun fact, since, we're supposed to, talk about fun facts. I think I have some of those. Previously to going back to IT work, I was in law enforcement for 8 years and some change.
So you went from IT to law enforcement and back to IT?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was working in a cube and I got an offer to work in a cube for the rest of my life. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm quitting my job. I'm going to go do fun things. And then about 8 years later, I'm like, man, it'd be nice if I could just go sit in a cube.
Sit in a cube.
That'd be great.
Well, thank you for taking that time to do that service. That definitely is a change. So, and Ansley, I think you said you have a St. Patty's Day fun fact.
I do. My brother is a chaplain in the Army. So this morning we were on a family group text message and he said that St. Patrick is not Irish. He was British and he did some missions in Ireland and became a bishop, but he never received his sainthood. So I don't know if the luck of the Irish, which is also satirical, just, they didn't have much luck over there. So they got to make some stuff up. They got to make up that they had the saint, which, whatever serves them.
Right. They built their own communications plan and branding. Well, hey,
they're in charge of their
whatever
destiny.
works.
Yeah.
It all started early. Those were transformation times back in the day.
Yes.
So, Ansley, you kind of started on a little bit of what you guys are doing. You guys are creating some great service offerings to, really support both organizations and kind of their modernization efforts. And I think, obviously, the Navy, I think, has also the Navy Marine Corps have a history of some pretty aggressive technology innovations and moves. I was at EDS when NMCI was rolled out, so that obviously dating myself a bit, but that was back in the day. That was a pretty impressive move in the IT space, and I think just hearing a little bit about what you guys are doing, it's while may not be as bold, but it is a pretty interesting opportunity that you guys are creating. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what you guys are doing?
Sure. So, as you know, the Marine Corps and the Navy both fall under the Department of the Navy. So they have certain levels of autonomy from each other, but they're always collaborating. They're always together, but they're always kind of separate and distinct in certain ways. So I think what we're doing now, which is what you saw back when they were trying to do NMCI, which they did stand up in NMCI. The Marine Corps kind of went its own way with the mix-in a little bit later.
It's all in the history.
It's in the history. So the past couple of years since Clint has been working to help bring the Navy kind of into the cloud writ large for the Navy as a service level, the Marine Corps had taken a little bit of a different approach. The DoD was saying, go to the cloud, but they weren't giving a lot of, direct guidance on how that should be. So each of the MILDEPs kind of forged their own path. What you're seeing now in the Department of the Navy is the DON-CIO, ASN-RDA, saying there's a lot of duplicity going across the service levels between the Navy and the Marine Corps, how can we reduce that duplicity and start bringing an enterprise service together for the whole Department of the Navy? Reduce some of those functions that commands are doing across the Department of the Navy. So thankfully, I recruited Clint for months. He said he just came on in January. That's true. But for months, he was on a rotation with the Cloud SMO from DC2HS. And I didn't bribe him. But I helped him drink the Kool-Aid of what we were trying to do. And we got some really good support from DC2HS as well to move forward. So what we're trying to do is bring forward a platform of cloud services that is consumable by both the Navy and the Marine Corps. And we've had some challenges that over the past couple of months that have just hopefully been removed, challenges around command and control, challenges around how each service level has their identity structured. So we're moving through that. That's taken a lot of work that is above and beyond what Clint and I have had direct impact with, but it's because the whole department is kind of moving in this direction. We've seen a lot of good forward progressive movement in both service levels trying to come together for this common goal.
Awesome. Clint, anything from your side to expand on?
You know, she always says everything there is to say, and then asks me if I have anything left to say. And of course, I don't. You know, I'm like, I don't know. I already said it all.
I'll hit you with the next question. So, with that, right? I mean, you guys obviously have a mission and a strategy, but what are you all seeing from the nature of the demands, right? The cloud demands that you would have, and what the interest is, kind of from a pipeline standpoint, because obviously, you know, you don't, we talk about it like, you know, we have something to offer you, you know, here you go, command. that was kind of the old 20-year ago approach, right? I mean, what is it that you guys are seeing that the demands and the needs are from the cloud perspective?
So that one's easy. The demands and the needs are really everything. Whether they're supposed to be using, you know, the thing that they want, or if they are able to use the thing that they want. That's kind of the tricky part. There's a lot of demand coming in for new software as a service products. That's where the software companies seem to be going. They seem to be offering that service as opposed to giving you a piece of software to install. They want to do it for you, which is great, but it creates a lot of, you know, tricky things, you know, to get Navy and Marine Corps and even any DoD entity or even any federal entity access to it. There's all these steps that software company is usually not aware of that they need to go through before folks can use it. There's an exemption process. It's long. There's also additional nuances that we kind of throw on the naval mission owners. Is they're supposed to, you know, consume a service in a safe way, especially cloud service. So there's organizations that are supposed to help with that. Of course, if you come in with, you know, 501 different softwares as a service, obviously nobody's even got the proficiency within the Navy to know all of those services and know how to secure all of those services and safely provide those services. So that's the main, and then also, you know, the major CSPs, we don't have full access, unfettered access, you know, across the Navy and Marine Corps to some of these CSPs. So that's one of the things that Ansley and I are working towards, providing, you know, getting folks spun up and getting organizations, you know, in tune with these new CSPs. Or not new to us, not new to the world, of course, because, you know, we're 100 years behind in the DoD. So I'd say that's our biggest thing. There's unlimited demand, and we're just, you know, trying to work with what we got.
Right. Yeah. So we've got a couple of questions already, and I'll ask two of them in a little bit different way around open source and the use of low code and no code. So are open source solutions and low code, no code solutions something that you guys offer? Because those obviously create those create different challenges when you start looking at the level of security requirements that you guys have to deal with, right? Because that is part of what kind of creates some of the challenges for the DoD, right? Is the depth of security challenges, and obviously cloud solutions, on the .gov and the .mil, it's starting to migrate as the FedRAMP solutions as the standard, and DoD was definitely part of that as it started. But are you guys seeing, is there open source cloud solutions and low code, no code solutions that you guys are able to support mission with?
I'm assuming you want me to take that one, Ansley.
You're right.
Yeah. So we don't specifically offer solutions to folks, but we definitely do support the mission owners that are using those types of things. The low code, no code, that's real big in SaaS right now. Lots of those SaaS applications, you can jump in there and have almost no technical knowledge of what you're doing and make magical software, which is pretty cool, or applications, I should say. So there's some folks using those, and there's some folks asking to use some of those applications as well, and trying to go through the process to get there. As far as open source goes, the forward-leaning cloud organizations are leveraging the open source software specifically around automation and those types of things. There was a kind of a black eye on open source software across the Navy and Marine Corps a few years back. I think lots of people had a tough time getting some of it accredited, but I don't think that's an issue anymore. I haven't heard that for a while now. So there's lots of open source solutions out there that lots of folks are using to move forward with cloud. And I don't know if I need to get any more specific about that or not.
No, that's great. Appreciate it. So stepping back a little bit, I am curious that there's lots of demand that you're seeing, right? And obviously you're having to prioritize, I'm sure, both organizations and services. How are you guys doing that? And then how are you getting the awareness out? Because one of the things we talk about a lot here, that one of the biggest challenges of transformation efforts and kind of the technology adoption side of things is communication is key, right? I mean, the communication, the advocacy, the server hugging is, as some folks talk about it, is, you have people that want it, but then within that organization, you have people that don't. And so how do you, you guys are a pretty progressive organization, joint bringing a common service. How do you get the awareness out? How do you manage those aspects?
Well, that's a good question, Chris. So there's a couple of things that are challenging in this sphere. I think everyone pretty much wants to go to cloud at this point. We're not having the conversations anymore about why cloud, right? We were kind of stuck on that hamster wheel for a while. Why do we want to go to cloud? I think everyone is pretty much level set that the majority of applications can probably function better and serve the mission owner better in the cloud. There's always going to be some need for on-prem solutions, and the people who know that already know that, and they're no longer on the wheel about how do I get to cloud, knowing that I probably need to stay on-prem. But the other obstacles are around, did they plan enough in the future for their POM, like because it takes a little extra money to migrate, or if they need to refactor. So if they didn't plan, 2 years in advance on a POM cycle, then when it's time to migrate, they may be facing challenges around contracting their spend plan, what their system integration status is. Are they in sustainment? Do they need to transform their application? Is their application duplicative within their FAM portfolio? Do they need to work with their FAM on how they can integrate their data or some of their systems with what's in the FAM's portfolio? So there's some other factors besides just which cloud hosting solution do I need that they should be considering as part of their lifecycle application.
Gotcha. So the services that you guys offer, there's a question here around native platforms for AI, blockchain, and emerging technologies. Are those things that you guys look at? As you said, some organizations being more progressive than others. Clint, I think you mentioned that, some folks may want to go down a path, but they don't necessarily know the technology that's out there. Are those things that you guys look at and provide guidance?
Yeah, it's in AI specifically. We've had a lot of demand for a specific CSP, and I don't want to use CSP names or application names. So I'm going to try not to do that. But one CSP is, there's a general feeling that they have better AI technology than the other competitors. So that one CSP happens to be a CSP that it's not widely offered amongst naval community yet. It's one of the ones we're kind of targeting. So that request comes in all the time, and usually the reason is, why do you want to use this CSP? And it's usually that reason. So there's definitely folks doing that. I don't specifically do anything with AI because I don't have any applications to maintain right now. Hopefully in the future, we'll have some of that stuff that I'll get to play with. I wish I got to play around with that stuff all day. It'd be great. But we are trying to support, anybody coming in with an urgent need for something like that. AI, machine learning specifically. There's lots of use cases for that for both the Navy and Marine Corps, and pretty much the rest of the DoD. Lots of folks are already using it in the intel community, and even some of these CSPs that people don't have general access to. So we're trying to get that down to to all the mission owners that need it.
Awesome. So you guys, kind of function in, I guess, almost an advisory service capacity, right? You help the organizations kind of move in a path of technology modernization. So can you talk a little bit about kind of the approaches that you guys have, the services you guys have for organizations that other organizations may be able to capitalize that have been successful? One of the ones that I'm really curious about is the digital marketplace that I think you guys talked about. That advisory service is it's pretty cool kind of thought, right? It's almost the let's go shopping aspect.
Sure. The digital marketplace. Wow, cloud.navy.mil. If you're attending here with us today and you have a common access card, you should be able to access cloud.navy.mil. We would love your feedback, whether it be good or colored. We certainly need the constant feedback. Cloud.navy.mil was functioning a little bit differently than the Dawn Cloud policy and originally intended it to before the Dawn Cloud policy came out. So we've been working to transform the digital marketplace. The idea is for us to be able to provision cloud services to the mission owner from cloud.navy.mil, at least as a minimal storefront for the Dawn CIO, AS, and RDA to be able to see all the Department of the Navy cloud consumption metrics on cloud.navy.mil. That's something that we're working now with the cloud providers across the Department of the Navy to get the connections with their cloud environments so we can project that up on cloud.navy.mil. We do have a cloud catalog. We're redesigning it. It doesn't, the way you see it now on cloud.navy.mil doesn't align to the way you actually would procure the cloud services within the department. So we're trying to transform that so it has a better user interface and it makes more sense to them when they visit it. We also have a cloud contracts market research tool there that shows all of the enterprise contracts that provide cloud services, whether they be IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. And we have some knowledge articles that are available to help support their missions. But we're working hard. We've gotten a lot of feedback so far. I see Keith Bowman's one of our favorite feedback providers for cloud.navy.mil. He gives us very nuanced feedback, if you will, on his thoughts about that, because he spent a long time providing cloud services to Dawn mission owners. So
So to pick up on that topic a little bit and pull on the thread, there's a question in here. Do you use the GSA Cloud Information Center to research and share what you've learned, successes, failures? Do you guys kind of cross over to the to the .gov world to see what they're doing, and if there's
Yeah.
things that work?
Yeah, great question. We actually are working with GSA now on a couple of things. We definitely do. We work, we have a lot of outreach actually. We're working with the Army Cloud Office. We've met and worked with the Air Force Cloud Office. Other people see cloud.navy.mil. We've talked to SOCOM. We've talked to the Coast Guard. They've gone on to our website to see. We like what we see. Is it working for you? What lessons can we learn from you? Things like that. So it's generated some really good conversation. And a lot of that conversation is how we can make it better. So that's always a good outcome.
And there's a question around if the marketplace was created with or co-created at all with GSA, and probably the best way that I'll summarize that question. Or did you
I don't know the definite answer, but my educated guess is that it was not co-created with GSA. I think it was created from a group within PEO Digital originally.
Gotcha. So you've brought in one of the topics which we cover a lot is how to acquire, and it sounds like in the marketplace there's both educational resources as well as available contracts to acquire. Did I understand that correctly? Services?
Mm-hmm. So the contracts that are listed, some of them are centralized, some of them are decentralized. So how we want the mission owners to consume cloud services is through the naval technical agents. So there are 7 to date we use the term brokering these cloud services to the DON mission owner. Ideally, the mission owner would send money to the naval technical agent, and the naval technical agent would take care of the contracting. So it's there for them. Not all of those contracts are utilized by the naval technical agents. So it just depends on what the DON mission owner needs. But yeah, we're trying to make the business part of consuming the cloud service as least burdensome as possible to the mission owner.
So Keith, since you use Keith's name, he's actually got a question in here that if there was one thing that could change to about naval cloud execution and its future, I mean, is that kind of where you're one of the big ones, or are there other areas that you see would be more supportive in getting cloud adoption out there?
What?
I'm not gonna ask the first part of that.
Clint, do you want to take that one from Sir Keith?
I think that was directed at you based on the way the question was phrased. But if I could do anything to let me pull up this question. I'll ignore the first part of it.
Oh, if I was queen for a day.
Yes, if you're queen for a day. Yes. No, I was trying to avoid that, so give it to both of you to answer.
Well, I mean, Keith knows that I'm queen for more than a day. So what would I change? I think that I don't know, what a hard question, Keith. God, I wanted you to give me softball ones. I think that if I were going for a day, I would probably do some more in-depth education about what cloud services even are. I think that there's some confusion when mission owners are trying to procure cloud. They don't realize that's what they're trying to procure. They think, it's just the internet. I just go on the internet. I don't understand why this is not a cloud product. Or they think that it's software when it really is SaaS. And so it creates a lot of churn, and it has a lot of manpower focused on education and advertisement. and negotiation, right? So I think that's what it would be, just some clear definitions. I know that the Marine Corps and the Navy and the Department of the Navy, the three use the same terms and they all have different definitions. So often when we're speaking to one another and we're saying fit for purpose cloud, the Navy mission owner hears that and it means something different than the Marine Corps mission owner than it does from the DoD when you read their cloud policy. So probably just get everyone on the same page with the same vernaculars and the same definitions.
So that I think we talked about this a little bit on our prep, that one of the things that we've seen is a thing called office hours, right? That kind of the shared, I'm going to use the term shared services, or joint kind of cloud organizations or cloud PMOs are able to kind of help with that, right? Because we talk a lot about the education side of the technology and technology evolution and the adoption of that a lot on this podcast. Are you working both from a education standpoint, but leveraging data to understand where organizations are, right? Because I got to imagine some organizations are more progressive than others, either based on mission or just based on staff. Do you have outside of the marketplace educational outreaches and environments that folks can capitalize on?
Clint, you want to take that one?
Yeah,
Ansley's
looking at the camera, but I know that look was directed at you.
You're seeing.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know that we have anything specifically, that's specifically what you just said. We do outreach, and we try to communicate with as many folks as we can about as many things as we can. We're working a whole lot of stuff. I know that marketplace, we've talked a lot about marketplace, and I just want to say that for all those folks out there that have things negative to say about the marketplace, we're working on it. That's one of our huge things that we're trying to get to. And the only reason I bring that back up is because we're planning on doing a lot more outreach and a lot more training, and we're planning on getting folks to the training. And I'm going back to the last question. Sorry to jump around here, but I've just been sitting here quietly, just smiling for the last little bit. So now I want to talk some. If I could change anything to increase cloud adoption across the Dawn, I would, I'd lean towards, a whole lot more people, smart people, SMEs, and every single one of those cloud technologies. It's real hard to keep people on the government side due to obvious reasons of, pay and those types of things, industry stealing all of our good folks. And I would probably lean towards a cloud dedicated AO staffed with a whole bunch of cloud people, that we could focus on pushing cloud specifically. We're doing it. We're telling everybody they need to go to cloud, and going all the way back to, I think the first or second question is, lots of people don't want to go to cloud. There's a whole lot of organizations that it's the last thing they want to do, but they're going to have to. They're being told they have to, and they reluctantly reach out to us and the folks that provide that cloud for them.
So do you all use data to have a perspective of who is in the cloud, how much they're consuming, how much they have left? On some of the things we talk about on the .gov side is that this cloud smart policy and the data center consolidation and need for application rationalization and really understanding what you have and where you're trying to go and what that looks like. Do you guys at your level capture that kind of data?
So we're asked to a lot, and unfortunately we don't have it. So we have to dig into the 50 different resources across the government systems to try to locate that data. We have to do data calls with the mission owners and the organizations that are consuming, and all of that data is displayed in different ways. And we spend hundreds of man hours to try to get it into a displayable format. And it of course ends up being incorrect, or at least mostly incorrect. That is another one of our focus points. I think Ansley mentioned earlier that we're We're tasked with trying to get all, at least the consumption data and the demand data for all of cloud within the Dawn, displayed in one nice place, a single pane of glass that the folks that need to see it can see it right away, and we can kind of end those data calls that take up so much time. Not just our time, they take up all of those organization time. They don't want to dig up their data and give it to us. It takes up, the folks looking at it and trying to translate it, and it's a never-ending ball game, because about the time you finish with one of these massive data calls of somebody asking, where are we spending money, or where do we need to spend more money, et cetera, somebody's got to put all that together. And unfortunately, that's, our office and about 5 others, that we work with closely. So.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the key in discovery of any type of information, while you think maybe easy technically, is not, right? Because once you have the custom applications and you have the layers of what's in there, it really is a manual process. And I'm sorry, Ansley, you had follow up.
No, that's good. Yeah, Clint's right. We do. So the DoD asks, how are you spending your cloud IT budget, to each military department, and each military department has to show back, this is how I'm using my IT cloud spend. And I'll say it's been a challenge for every military department to show that every year to the DoD. It's been a challenge for us, and we work with each DDCIO for the Marine Corps, DDCIO for the Navy, their offices, to answer these data calls. We just did a large audit jointly together, and it's a lot of data mining, because all of the data is in a manual data mining, because we have to pull it from disparate systems. It's also not a proactive approach, it's a reactive approach. So it's challenging, and it's highlighted a lot of opportunities for improvement and how we're moving forward. And I know you asked, how are you using data to make decisions? We also use the awareness of our lack of data to drive the decisions too, right? Like, we want to see this and we can't, so let's use that to make some more informed policy decisions and strategies moving forward.
Right. So to kind of wrap up here on the cloud, and we've got lots of questions around risk and security, which is one of the topics that we always cover here. So there is a question here, which I think is always kind of the common question, right? Is why doesn't the federal government or federal agencies and government in general make their own common cloud? And the second part of that question is with a natural feeling of having somebody's own information, much less classified information, in a commercial environment. What do we do to kind of move to that discussion, or are what you guys offering kind of that move, right? I mean, you're starting to see more and more organizations like this, but so.
Sure. I mean, the DoD has been trying to get after providing a gov cloud for all of DoD for quite some time. I'm sure everyone remembers when they were calling it Jedi. They've shifted.
That was in the press a lot.
In the news, for sure. They have shifted, not necessarily their approach, but maybe some of their business decisions. And the Joint Warfighter Cloud, what is it called? Joint Warfighter Cloud Capability, JWCC. So that initiative is out there, and it should be on the horizon soon, available for all DoD. How the military departments decide to use it or consume it is up to each one based on their own cloud policies.
Is that the question though? Was the question, why don't, I mean, I don't know.
Well, the question was really, why doesn't the federal government have a common cloud?
Well,
common by like we made our own cloud, or common like we have a,
right.
When you talk about the federal government, right, the Department of Education needs different security than the Department of Defense, right? So I think that one's kind of a natural consequence of why just the federal government writ large doesn't have one cloud.
Right, and that's where I tried to dive in just a little bit deeper, because I think, I think you're not going to have, an Intel cloud that is going to sit in. Nobody's all going to come to one common cloud, right? And I think where organizations are moving is that, that comment. And I'm glad you brought up Jedi, because that I think was, for the DoD, that was the goal, right? To try and drive that, that potential common platform. And we see that in a number of different areas, right? I mean, the CDM from a .gov security standpoint was an approach at creating, a common security offering for all of .gov. So as we're now kind of diving into to security, we'll try and hit some of these questions here. Is there, or what is the value of a thin cloud stack to managing and resourcing risk? I guess I'm not sure if that answers that. Rescuing risk, I guess, and risk. Do you guys get involved in a thin cloud stack? I guess maybe let me start with that question first.
That's a Clint question.
Yeah, that sounds real buzzwordy for me. I don't know. Somebody would have to clarify it, because I feel like you could ask 10 different people what that means and they'd give you 10 different responses. I'm going to skip that one.
Let's skip that one. How do you know that cloud computing to be more secure or reducing risk of on-prem? So how are you guys? I mean, obviously on the, there's a lot around FedRAMP, but are there additional steps and measures that that you guys have to take for your organizational clients?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that the Navy, the Department of the Navy has kind of been real smart on, in my opinion. I know when you hear Navy cloud brokers or NTAs, everybody's like, oh, that's just somebody I have to pay extra money to get to cloud, right? Well, it's true. That statement's mostly true, but it's also the folks that make sure you don't, commit a DFAR violation. It's also the same folks that, make sure you don't do anything you shouldn't do. It's the folks that make sure that you are being safe, that you're connected to the proper, caps, and that you've got the proper SCCA, and you have all of those things that you wouldn't get if you just were able to just go buy it and do it on your own. Not to say that you couldn't accomplish all those things on your own, but I think at the Navy level, and I think there's a couple questions in here about security, how are you managing risk, those types of things, and the organizations doing that, those NTAs, that's the whole reason they exist. They're making sure nobody's using services that they're not allowed to use in any CSP that they provide those services to. They're making sure that if you're trying to do anything just, off the walls, like spinning up a huge GPU heavy instance that costs $400 an hour, they're going to want to talk to you before you do that. So they're going to prevent you from doing that. They're going to, prevent you from dropping every bit of storage you have, hundreds of millions of items, into a different class of storage that costs you $100,000, instantly, just as a random example. So those are the types of things that they'll do to make sure that, and they're going to make sure you don't, just open up your application directly to the internet, not without an ATO, with an ATO or otherwise. They're going to make sure you're kind of following the rules. And it's a fine line between making it to where people can't use cloud how it's supposed to be used, which we obviously don't want to do, and making sure that they're using cloud in a safe and responsible manner, I guess. And that's what those NTAs are kind of there for.
So that there was something, Clint, you bring up a good point. I do think that was something that was, again, back to the Navy's progressiveness, right? Within MCI, one of the big both public bumps for both the company and the Navy was really the security policies, right? The security policies drove a lot of decisions that impacted the organizations that was rolled out to. So the Navy has been pretty progressive in basically holding application feet to the fire of security policies, and it sounds like that's kind of continued. It hasn't let up. It's actually probably increased and driven more into the organizations. So the next question we have, views and guidelines of commercial cloud versus government cloud, and the importance of the features that can be made government compliant being available for their cloud computing solutions. So I think one of the things that we talk about, we've had Brian Conrad on here from FedRAMP, and he kind of talked through the different steps of of getting getting a commercial cloud solution through kind of the FedRAMP side. And Clint, I think you just touched on a little bit, right? There are different paths in the DoD side that if you have a commercial offering that you can, I want to say test. We talked a little bit about this, test environment, but there are, pilot processes and there are opportunities that folks can bring commercial offerings and check that, correct?
Yeah, well, I don't know that it's necessarily the commercial entity that would do that. I think you pretty much need to get a sponsor and go through that FedRAMP process and before it could be widely used, and the PA process, of course, also. But if there is an organization that really needs to use that or wants to do a pilot using a specific commercial, cloud product that hasn't gone through those processes, there is an exemption process. And if you want to follow that from the naval side of the house, then you'd go to cloud.navy.mil and we have that exemption process. We can at least start it for you. There's lots of steps involved and it's not going to be, something you get through in a week or two, but you can definitely get to the things that you want to try out or use before they've gone through all the wickets of security testing and gone through all the correct organizations and those types of things. And I don't know if Ansley probably has more to say on that. I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, it is a little bit of a lengthy process. It goes from us to the DoD CIO and it enters into their exception to policy process. And we do have mission owners that have specific needs for products that don't have a FedRAMP or DISA PA because of their mission set. So we have security teams that purposefully try to penetrate other systems for testing, right? So they want to use products from an unknown vector from separate networks to provide those security services and security testing back to the Department of the Navy. So there's definitely a use case for those.
So would if the mission owner were looking at that product, do they come to you then to say, hey, we've got this, we think it fits in our mission? Do they come to the Cloud Smell?
They do, and they normally the mission owners we've engaged with to date have already done the research and already know what they need. And so by the time they come to us, they're just saying, hey, we've got endorsement from the DDCIO, from the Navy or Marine Corps, whichever service level they fall under, to use this product. Can you help us push it through to the DoD? So. Okay,
excellent. Yeah. So a couple more questions here that let's see. Question I'm not sure if the answer clarified if using cloud build on open source is valuable or not. Can you please clarify? Kind of dialing back to the, sorry, Sandy, I'm scrolling through as quick as I can. I don't know if we want to roll back.
Yeah, if you need to use something, open source is a good option. It's typically a lot cheaper or free. There's lots of those products that even though they're open source, somebody wants you to pay for, a support plan through a vendor who offers, support for that open source product. There's those types of nuances around it, but in general, it's cheaper. It's, they're every bit as secure, if not more secure, because they're open source. And yeah, like I said, lots of people are using them and they're finding great benefit in open source for cloud purposes.
So from an acquisition standpoint, are those types of offerings on those acquisition vehicles that you guys have on the digital marketplace?
Are the open source?
Yeah, is there a way that, again, thinking in the vein of knowing what's out there, what's in your organizations that you guys are supporting, obviously them grabbing an open source and just using it and you not knowing, I wouldn't think that's where you would want to go. You still want those things to kind of come through you, or no?
I mean, if it's open source and it's a piece of software, I mean, we don't need to know about it. You just need to have it in your package and make sure it's on the whatever system tracks the software. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. I should Datums. There
you go. So this one's going back to the debate about move to cloud, settled or not. I think we kind of touched on this, but if the debate to move to the cloud is not settled, is it best to move to licenses that exist to cloud or to swap those out for a new technology stack? I think this is again, probably different organizations have different different missions, different thoughts about what they want to do, how they want to do it. And I'm not sure if there's other ways to kind of dive in on this question.
I could talk a little bit about transferring licenses to cloud. I mean, in some cases it makes perfect sense, and in most cases, from my experience, it doesn't, or they don't transfer. If you're doing a large procurement on-prem and you know you're going to be moving to the cloud, you should probably ask whatever vendor you're buying licensing from, can I transfer this to the cloud? And consider that in your purchase decisions. That's all I would say about that.
Well, and that's actually a good segue into a topic that we talk about a lot on here is, you know, is that cost? We had Brian Merrick on a couple of weeks ago from State Department, and I think he started with, you know, listen, cloud's not cheaper, right? Don't go there if you're thinking cloud's cheaper. Go there if you're thinking mission and need and availability, et cetera, right? And so, you know, that is one thing that I know that you know, we discuss a lot, and it's one of those things that I think in the federal government, and we talked a little about this on different the alignment of budgets to where technology is to where acquisitions are. It's hard to manage that, right? Not only does the government move slow to adopt technology, but you know, how do you write a 3-year budget to, you know, kind of keep up with technology? How are you guys helping organizations with, or maybe you're not, maybe it's just the technology side. Are you guys helping organizations with kind of their budget thinking around technology?
Great question.
Hey, Clint, I saw immediately muted on that one.
Yeah, that's definitely an Ansley question.
So that is happening. You know, we're part of that effort, but it's also happening at a much larger, like up at the Don CIO level. They have campaign plans each year to help inform some of this. We work with ASN, FMNC, who is the comptroller for the Department of the Navy, and with ASNP, who does the procurements, to try to align everyone at the top to understand, to try to inform the resource sponsors and the FAMs across both service levels about budgeting for cloud, budgeting for the migrations, budgeting for the sustainment of those applications. So it's something we're involved in, but it's happening across the department through a much larger unified effort as well.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it is something that organizations definitely need to, you know, think about, right? Is that timing? Because, you know, it even for progressive organizations, you know, you're not able to keep up with the technology, and if you need to continue to evolve, it is hard to understand where things are going. So we've got about. Go ahead.
Oh, all right, Chris. And we do have these conversations in the contracts that we are negotiating follow-on contracts to. The contracting officers understand that the need for technology isn't on a 2-year POM cycle, right? So when I need something today, they're trying to design the contracts where it's making it less of an acquisition burden to get those to the mission owners, those services.
Right. So we've got about 10 minutes left, and there's still a number of questions that I don't think we'll get through. So I want to kind of take Clint's Queen for a Day aspect of having, you know, a team of SMEs, and tie that into kind of 2 topics that we start talking about. Number one, multi-cloud, right? Is there, you know, kind of an importance of a multi-cloud environment? But number 2, right, the resource pools, whether you're reskilling or not, tend to be, you know, very narrowly focused. So let's start with the first topic of, you know, is the multi-cloud important? But then how do you really start to create this, you know, this skill gap challenge of of technology and being able to help, with a lot of SMEs. So multi-cloud first.
So Chris, can you put some context around what you think multi-cloud is? Because what I think it is and the way you're asking the question is a little different.
So the questions here are multi-cloud, starting to talk, VMware, Oracle. We've got, they're starting to throw out, different names, right? So I would look at multi-cloud as the multi-cloud environments, right? So the ability to kind of pick and choose. We're not dictating one.
So you don't mean, sorry, you don't mean multi-cloud like as in my application utilizes two different cloud service providers.
Well,
you just mean I could pick between, more than one or more than two.
Well, I think you could look at that. That's probably a good point back to the very early conversation, right? Is definition. So I think, that does become a challenge. The multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, go through the list of them. So I guess multi-cloud in your definition, how are you guys looking at it? Is that a better way to ask, Ansley?
Yeah, go ahead, Clint.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah. So in our definition, and we accept all definitions, right? Like they're usually all right. It just depends on what lens you're looking at them through. But anyway, so our goal is to get the mission owners into whatever CSP they want to get into, right? So we're absolutely, everything we're doing on the back end and all of the efforts that we're working, we're trying to get all of the major CSPs into the available list. So if I'm a mission owner, I don't get forced into a CSP I don't want to go to, or maybe I don't think I want to go to. A lot of cases, somebody will come into us and say, I want to go into X CSP. They don't really know why. They're just like, oh, I have a lot of that product. I think I need to be there.
Or because the vendor got to them first and told them that's where they need to go.
But even in that case, we want to support that, right?
Speaking for vendors, I won't take that offensively.
Hey, it's their job. I mean,
right.
It's their job.
Exactly. So then on that, Clint, how do you manage that, right? So if the organizations are pushing, then how do we manage that skill gap, right? Because there is a benefit to, it's kind of the blessing and the curse, right? We can head down a path and go, okay, we're all going to be this CSP, and you train the technical team around that. But yet at the same time, it is, to think back to, again, using NMCI as an example that, do you get stuck, right? And so you get stuck from a skill gap, you get stuck from an acquisition. So we've talked about portability, on this show as well. But how do you now transfer that into skills?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably talk for an hour, a little, just about personnel and skills. And
that's why I'm only giving you 5 minutes.
Right. I'm not even joking. There's probably 3 people in the attendee list that I've just been scrolling through that, were once a part of the Naval Cloud community as a government employee, and now they're not, because they left us. But that's okay. Everybody's got their own personal reasons and whatnot. But I guess getting back to it, as we onboard a new CSP, obviously we need SMEs for those CSPs, hopefully, more than 2 or 3, right? And those are extremely hard to come by. We can contract for them and get SMEs in, but then you're looking at, from the time I say I need somebody to the time I get them and they can actually access the system, I mean, sometimes it's 4 or 5 months, if not more than that. So you're already 4 months behind. And to find a government person to train up, I mean, maybe they'll take the training and they'll understand the technology set, and maybe they won't. So it's kind of a, you're just rolling the dice one way or another. And that is definitely a nonstop challenging frustration that I've experienced since, 2014. Yeah.
Yeah, in the past couple of years too, we used to have more money set aside in the competencies for certifications. So even if you went through a training provided by a CSP at no additional cost, you still have to pay to take the test and get the certification, and that money within the commands has kind of been reprioritized to some other competing priorities. So that's been difficult in that arena. And it doesn't typically come with any type of monetary incentive for them to, because then over the couple of years you have to pay to recertify. And if you're going to be coming out of pocket, then it's a large ask.
Right. So
You know.
one of the things that we have talked about, just sharing lessons learned that we've had in the past here, Tom Santucci out of the GSA DCCOI, they created, actually, they stole, they snuck Fred out of the Navy to create kind of a GSA level type of training offering, right? So there is an ability to, that they're working to try and get, folks trained on those activities. Is that something that is you guys' responsibility, or is it the responsibility of the organizations, or where does that lie as we come to the close?
We have a large interest in identifying training at no cost to train the DOM mission owners that are targeted for cloud. We're not funded for that as an organization necessarily, but it really falls on the mission owner's program office to train them to meet their own mission, even if that mission is to get their application into cloud. Even if their application is like supporting their uniform mission, like they create uniforms for the Marine Corps, right? They don't need to know about cloud, but if they're going to put their applications in the cloud, then they're going to have some resources within their program office that can continue to execute those technology services for them in the cloud. So it's a struggle. That's a group that we were working with last year, that they didn't have the right resources to get what they needed in the cloud. So it's something that the larger portfolios are having to identify resources to help those mission owners get them where they need to be.
Right. Well, we're coming to 10 o'clock, and obviously we probably could have turned this Cloud and Coffee like most of these into a couple hour sessions. But for those questions that I didn't get to, folks, I'm sorry. I tried to summarize and consolidate and get through as much as possible. But Ansley and Clint, thank you very much for a wonderful conversation. I think what you guys are creating is an awesome environment for for a broad organization that I do think has been pretty progressive in a technology space in a world that that in that mission. So thank you very much for taking the time, and all those that joined us this morning, thank you very much for tuning in.
Thanks for having us, Chris. You've been a great
right.
host. Thanks, Kirsten.
Kirsten's going to take a quick snapshot if you guys want to smile real quick.
Yep. 3, 2, 1. Great. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye. You too.
Bye.